No matter where you're from in the US, I think we can all agree that going to school in California sounds freaking awesome. So, whether you're skeptical about going in California, or you think you want to go and you don't really know, or you know you do but you don't know where in California, or if it's just a geographic location thing, or if it's just a UC thing, inform yourself and watch along. So, the first schools I'm going to talk about are the actual UC schools, like UCLA, UC Berkeley, UC Santa Barbara, San Diego, Irvine, those bad boys. UCLA is one of the most selective schools in California with an acceptance rate of 14%, which surprised me. I don't know why it surprised me, but it did. UCLA generally recommends you have an SAT score between 1380 and 1500, an ACT score of 30 to 34, and a GPA ranging from 3.9 to 4.1. The campus is 31,000 kids. That's a big school. UCLA, though, in my opinion, has one of the most beautiful campuses I've ever seen. The campus itself is almost 420 acres, and again, houses like 31,000 students, so that campus of that kind of size makes sense. Part of the reasons why UCLA is so great, though, is because it is so prestigious. It is hard to get into. You need good SAT scores, a good GPA. There's a 14% acceptance rate, but there's a 91% graduation rate. And UCLA is a party school, but the thing is, like, it's a party school of the highest tier. Like, yes, there are parties at UCLA, but UCLA is so hard to get into anyway. They also take their academics really seriously. So, like, if you want to go to a UC school, there are schools that are more and less competitive to get into that might be less stress on your back. The next school I'm going to talk about is Chapman University. Chapman is a school I'm applying to for screenwriting. If you want to apply to Chapman for a creative measure, that's fine, but you also need something called a creative supplement, which is essentially like a second application, which it's kind of annoying, but if you really do feel passionate about a certain craft or you want to go for a certain thing, it's worth it. Chapman University has an acceptance rate of 53%. They generally look at students with a GPA between 3.7 and 4.0, SAT scores of 1320 and 1480, an ACT score of 28 to 32, and the campus itself is only about 3,700 kids, so it's not gigantic. Chapman is a Christian university, but what I've seen of kids like talking about Chapman and kids who go from Chapman, it's not like they heavily enforce Christian ideologies. I'm having a stroke. It's not like they heavily enforce Christian ideologies onto their students. They have like religious clubs, but they're not gonna like make you go to church every Sunday and like pray to God. So if you're not super religious, you should be fine. I like Chapman's campus, and I'm applying to Chapman. Obviously, I'm a Chapman fan. I don't think it's the most stunning campus in California. I think if you go to college in California, Pepperdine is like a stunning campus. We'll get to Pepperdine, but like Chapman is a good school. It's a relatively small school. It's only about 78, 80 acres as opposed to freaking UCLA, which is chicungus. It's gigantic. UCLA is the size of the problems in this country, just unending. But some kids prefer a smaller community, so if you want to go to school in California and you kind of want like a smaller vibe, I'd recommend Chapman because Chapman's really good. It's not like 14% acceptance rate, it's 53, so it's relatively easier on like your psyche. And they have really good programs. I'm going for screenwriting, but they also have art and business and economics and science, so try out Chapman. The next school I'm going to talk about is Pepperdine. Pepperdine is actually the university that Zoe 101 was filmed at. Yeah, that's crazy. So Pepperdine has an acceptance rate of 35%. They recommend you have a GPA between 3.6 and 3.9, an SAT score from 1300 to 1450, an ACT score of 28 to 32, and their campus is in Malibu, California. If you thought UCLA was big at 420 acres, Pepperdine is 830 acres big. I'm not kidding. That is gigantic. I don't know if you know how big 1 acre is, but it is enormous. 830 acres? The Grand Canyon is a little under 2,000 acres. 2 Pepperdines is like the size of the Grand Canyon. Like, that's crazy, right? especially because the student population size on Pepperdine, guess what it is? 3,500 kids. That's right, Pepperdine University only has an undergraduate class of 3,500 with 838. I'm sorry, I can't go over that. But I happen to think that Pepperdine has one of the most beautiful campuses of any college I've ever seen in America. It's in Malibu, California. Like, what? Pepperdine University is a gorgeous campus, and it's a good school. It's got an acceptance rate of 35%, a graduation rate of 87%. Pepperdine is a school that smart kids go to if they want to succeed, in addition to living in paradise for 4 years, because, oh my god. Pepperdine is also a Catholic university, and actually when I was first Googling Pepperdine, I got nervous because I saw that it was like a conservative religious school. And I was born and raised in Manhattan, New York, and I'm not very conservative or religious. And I was like, uh-oh, here I have this gorgeous campus in this gorgeous Malibu, California. From what I've heard of Christian universities anyways, if you're not super Christian or religious, they're not gonna like hold that against you. Like, obviously, I've never been to Pepperdine. I don't go to Pepperdine. I can't tell you exactly what their religious policies are. But, like, if you're agnostic, atheist, don't really follow God, Jewish, and you're like, oh, I want to go to Pepperdine, I just got in, but, like, I'm nervous about the religion aspect. Don't be. It's really not as detrimental as, like, it could appear on paper. The next university I'm going to talk about that's also a good university in California is Loyola Marymount University. Loyola has an acceptance rate of 47%. They recommend having a GPA between 3.8 to 4.0, an SAT score of 1300 to 1480, an ACT score of 27 to 31, and generally they have a campus size of around 6,700 undergrad kids, so it's not insanely enormous. A lot of these schools, okay, I'm just now realizing, a lot of these schools have really high, like, SAT scores, like 1380 to 1450, like, that's a good ACT scores of 30, like, those are really good scores. If your SAT and ACT scores are slightly under that, you're like, oh, I got like an 1180, like that's not high enough to apply to these schools. Apply anyways. Because at the end of the day, it's not your 1450 that's going to be sleeping in their dorms, right? They're not inviting your 1450 to go tour their campus. They're inviting you. They're inviting you to go attend their university, you know what I mean? So, like, as long as you write, like, a solid essay and your personality can show on the page of the Common App application, like, as long as your application is solid, you have a bigger chance of getting into these universities than you might actually think. Anyways, back to Loyola Marymount. I feel very similarly about Loyola as I do about Chapman. I do not think it's the most gorgeous campus on California, but Loyola Marymount is a good school. They have a 47% acceptance rate, they have an 82% graduation rate, they are a private university in Los Angeles, California. Like, if you want to go to school in LA, geographic location alone, but you still want to get a good education and go to, like, a good school, Loyola Marymount is an option that you should be considering. So now I'm going to talk about schools that are a little less prestigious for those of us with little lower SAT scores, and I'm going to talk about the University of San Francisco. The University of San Francisco has an acceptance rate of 64%. They recommend a GPA between 3.5 and 3.8, SAT scores between 1150 and 1330, ACT scores between 23 and 29, and their campus size is around 600, 500. Oh my god, I'm having a stroke. And a campus size of 6,500. Those were words, okay. Something I actually really like about the University of San Francisco is the campus. I think they have a really pretty campus. They've got some famous Statue of the Bull outside the university. They have tall buildings, some are pretty modern, but some look a little older. When the sun hits the glass, my god. And some of you are probably thinking, like, Case, why are you going on about, like, the campus? Talk about, like, the school. The campus is a big aspect of college. Like, maybe not to everyone, but to me. So we're gonna talk about the campus. Anyways, USF. Oh my god, I'm talking about the University of South Florida. I just googled USF. No, San Francisco. The bull outside. That's in Tampa. Never mind. Wait, give me a second. Who let me make this channel? Okay, no, I found it. The University of San Francisco, I think, kind of looks like Santorini, Greece. Like, I think it's a really gorgeous campus. I think it's a really good school. If you want the blatant, honest truth, I don't know an amazing amount about the University of San Francisco, but I know it's not super prestigious. It's in a great location. They've got a good acceptance rate and a graduation rate of 71. Okay, that's not terrible. If you want to get a good education, you want to go to California geographically, you know what, I'm sure the University of San Francisco is a place where a lot of local people go. Like, I'm sure if a lot of kids are born in or around San Francisco, they would go to the University of San Francisco. So USF is a good place to go if you kind of want to meet local kids, move to California. Maybe Los Angeles and Southern California is a little loud for you and you kind of want to go north a bit. University of San Francisco can be beneficial, and it's a really pretty campus, so I recommend that. The last school I'm going to talk about is actually my top school, which I really want to get into this school, and it's the University of Southern California. Now, this school is my top school, and let me tell you why. It's awesome. Okay, so the university, let me tell you some of the alumni alone that went to USC. Y'all, Miranda Cosgrove, Carly went to USC. Like, come on. Forrest Whitaker, George Lucas went to USC. USC, where is it? I don't know if you see. I made a list. I'm like reading. I can't find it. I got too excited about Miranda Cosgrove, and now I can't read. Give me a second. USC is a prestigious school. It's got an acceptance rate of 13. They recommend a GPA between 1350 and 1500, an SAT score of 3.79 to 4.1, ACT score of 30 to 34, and the campus size is around 20,000 kids, so it is a big school. But another thing I like about USC is just how much there is to do there. Do you want architecture? Because they have one of the best architectural schools in the country. Do you want screenwriting, filmmaking, production design, management, business management, managing businesses? Go to USC. Like, they're such a good school. And on top of that, the campus is gorgeous. Like, it's really hard to find a good school that has a good campus and is in a good location and is just a good school, and it's such a good school and I want to go there so badly. I want to go to USC SCA, which is a school of cinematic arts, because I want to study screenwriting in college, and USC has a wonderful program for that, so I want to go there. And I recommend you apply too, because it is prestigious. It's got an acceptance rate of 13%, but think of it this way. Even if your SAT scores are not phenomenal, like, you want to go to a school like USC, but you don't have an SAT score of 1450, you have an SAT score of 1190, or in my case, something slightly lower than that. Don't worry guys, I'm applying to USC during the pandemic, so they're not actually going to look at my SAT scores, so I actually do have a shot. Thank you. No, but let's say you do have a low SAT score and you're nervous because you want to go to a good college. Don't be. Just think of it this way. They have to pick someone to go to their school, you know? Well, why shouldn't it be you? Because you didn't work hard enough on your application? If you want to go to a school bad enough, I know you will. So don't beat yourself up before you even apply. Applying to a school is just a fancy way of applying yourself to things that you want to pursue in life. So don't let, like, standards and expectations, money is a different conversation. Don't bring up money to refute me, okay? That's, just shut up for a second. I'm talking about pure drive. Like, just a pure want to go somewhere, to do something, to be someone. If you want to go to a UC school, but you're scared you won't get in, apply, because honestly, you might be surprised. And that's about it. Best of luck.